Hey Chris, I can't help it if you can't get to the North Shore when I want you to. If you want to do another video, you gotta come see me. I'm gonna have your stuff right here, ready for you. This is Quick Hits. This is the Sports Report. Hey Chris, you know that stuff that I mentioned in my intro that I have for you? It's right here in my notes in the form of today's show. Lots of sports happening this weekend, so let's get right to it. It was a bad day for the Big Ten, or should I say the Big 14, with the addition of Maryland and Rutgers. Yeah, Maryland and Rutgers are in the Big Ten now for those of you who are just joining us late. Ohio State, Michigan, Purdue, and Northwestern all go down at the hands of defeat on Saturday. Ohio State's loss came to an unranked Virginia Tech team at home. Michigan State had to travel basically across the country to face the number 3 ranked team in the country in Oregon. Michigan travels down to South Bend and gets blown out and shut out at the hands of Notre Dame. Purdue loses to Central Michigan at home. The Chippewas go into West Lafayette, Indiana, and dismantle the Boilermakers. And Northwestern loses to, I think it was Northern Illinois. That's 5 of the top established teams in the Big 14. Yes, I'm going to start calling it the Big 14 because that's what they are. Go down at the hands of defeat. 2 of those teams lose to ranked teams on the road, and the other 3 all lost at home to unranked teams. It wasn't a good day for the Big 10 or the Big 14. I'm going to call it the Big 14. I just don't care. And it just goes to show you how weak this conference looks to be. University of Southern California Athletic Director Pat Haden says he received a text to come down on the field in the third quarter of his team's win against Stanford on Saturday. He came down to argue with officials. When do you ever see an athletic director argue with officials? It doesn't happen. And to say that you received a text, I want to know who the text was from. He claims it was not from head football coach Steve Sarkisian. I don't know what to believe. For those of you that don't know, Pat Haden is on this quasi-million-member selection committee that's going to be picking the 4-team college football playoff at the end of the year. Doesn't make yourself look good, Mr. Haden, coming down on the field and arguing with officials in the middle of a game? Who do you think you are, Mr. Haden? You're supposed to be unbiased when it comes to selecting teams in the college football playoff, and now you have this whole display on national TV. Yes, this game was nationally televised on ABC. This whole display, and you're supposed to be an unbiased member of this selection committee, which also includes Condoleezza Rice, by the way. I don't know. You just embarrassed yourself and the University of Southern California, even though your football program defeated a really good football team in Stanford. Although I'm under the impression that Stanford kind of screwed themselves. But that's just me, and that's another story for a different time. University of Texas football program has a new head football coach. It's Charlie Strong. Well, they looked Charlie weak against BYU on Saturday. Yeah, BYU, the Cougars from Mormonville, USA, known as Provo, Utah. No disrespect to the Mormons, although the majority of the Mormon population in this country reside in the state of Utah. But the Mormons can play football. Yeah, BYU goes into Austin, Texas, and blows out the Longhorns 41-7. It wasn't even a contest. Texas has had to suspend 8 different players for various violations, and their starting quarterback, David Ash, out with another concussion, and this one, I don't know, this one could end his career. I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie Strong had to sit David Ash for the remainder of the season. The remainder of a young season, which could turn into the remainder of a long season for the Texas Longhorns, who still have to contend with the likes of UCLA and Oklahoma and the better teams in the Big 12. Or are they the Big 10 or the Big 11? I don't know, because they also have West Virginia, but then they lost Colorado and they lost Texas A&M, and I don't know. They also have to contend with Baylor, who all of a sudden is better than Texas. Yeah. Longhorn fans. You got your own network, you got everything catered to you, and now you can't win a football game. You got a new coach to fix the problem, and your new coach can't fix the problem against BYU. Look, I have all the respect in the world for Charlie Strong, but this is a roller coaster nightmare for the Texas Longhorns that I just don't think they could get themselves out of right now. 41-7, the final, BYU over Texas. And in case you missed it, other than the Saints getting beaten overtime by the Atlanta Falcons, God, I hate Atlanta. If you haven't seen it, the top candidate for play of the year so far in the NFL had to be an Antonio Brown punt return for the Pittsburgh Steelers against Cleveland. It wasn't just any ordinary punt return. He ended up kicking the punter in the face when the punter, Spencer Lanning, who I think came from an SEC school, I'm not sure. I think he came from South Carolina, but I could be mistaken. He kicked him in the face during the punt return. If you haven't seen it already, here it is.
So far, but this is the best play you haven't seen just yet. Antonio Brown on the punt return, and watch what he does there as the punter tries to make a tackle. This is just, if it's purposeful, it's terrible, and it looks that way as Brown tries to hurdle Spencer Lanning, who's trying to make the tackle. Very good punt return, but that looks vicious by him.
Yeah, that one could end up costing Antonio Brown. I don't think he'll be suspended, but I think he'll definitely be fined. It looked intentional to me, but intentional or not, Antonio Brown went Mortal Kombat on Spencer Lanning, and for that, he is the candidate for Play of the Year. Well, it's been another edition of the Sports Report Quick Hits edition. Chris, I'm still calling you out. I'm still expecting you to come to New Orleans. Oh, hell, you are in New Orleans. I want you to come to the North Shore. Do a video up here. What, you can't make it? You can't make it for whatever reason? You got too much going on? Why don't you come up here? We'll do a show together. We'll do more of this bickering face-to-face. In the meantime, this has been another episode of the Sports Report Quick Hits edition. For now, I'm Paul, and we'll see you next time.